have all the technologies. We know what to do. So let's go. That's half the solution to the climate crisis. The other half is regenerative agriculture.
Tonight's Wednesday, and what are we doing tonight? What is it?
Future.
We did it. We've done it again, Matt.
Yeah.
We've done it again, and Hunter is still here. That means that her audio is not working, or she really has a lot of patience. Thank you, Hunter. We've displaced Bob Dylan. We've made friends with Neil Young. We're up there with the best of them now with our jingo, or at least we like to think that we are, but we have fun with that. So thank you for enduring that. We do appreciate it.
No worries.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for being with us. And John, you already disclosed it to our listeners because they might not see the video, of course, but tonight we have a very special guest from close to Boulder, Colorado, and it's Hunter Lovins.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes. Nice to have you here. Here it's in Europe. It's already night. What's your
noon.
daytime right away?
1 o'clock in the afternoon.
All right. You see plenty of sunshine over there on that side of the world.
Great.
It's already here dark and kind of gray, rainy over here. So
sun is shining.
That's super.
Colorado, we get 300 days of sun a year.
Oh wow, that's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm originally from the U.S. and from Arkansas, and I remember very young years going out to Summit County to learn how to snow ski. Breckenridge was the first place, so I remember those days. Not really a good snow skier, but I love it. Pardon me?
Breck is still there, still
yes,
great
indeed.
skiing. Now they make a good whiskey.
Okay, that's even better. Of course, I used to go there with my church group, and so we didn't drink the whiskey then, but I've fallen from grace. So I do that these days, that's for sure. So, before we get into some other topics, indeed, as you know, we talk about plastic, climate, and future here, and it would be kind of good for us to understand a little bit about, how did you get to be turned on with the area of sustainability and what it is that you're doing. I mean, we can Google that and find that out, but I think also it may be of value for the listeners out there, the younger people, to kind of get an idea of how it is that someone comes to dedicate their profession and their work to this area of sustainability, circularity, and everything that we're talking about here today. How did you get here, to paraphrase Talking Heads?
I'm not real sure I had a lot of choice. My mother organized in the coal fields with John L. Lewis in the 30s. My father helped mentor Cesar Chavez and Martin King. They were around the house when I was growing up. So trying to leave the world a little bit better than you found it was kind of the family business. I planted a tree for the first Earth Day. That did a lot of good. Worked in the late 60s with David Brower, our generation's greatest environmentalist. Dave got fired out of Sierra Club because he saved the Grand Canyon. Cost Sierra Club their tax status, so they fired him. So he founded Friends of the Earth. So I migrated with him over to Friends of the Earth. Friends of the Earth fired him. Dave said, if you have a positive bank balance, you haven't realized the urgency of the situation. The board found that scary. So Dave created Earth Island Institute. Somewhere along the line, I took a law degree, figured law would be a good way to try to drive social change. Thank God for the good environmental lawyers, but I found it very frustrating and a very slow process. Quit that, became a forester, planted, we planted something close to 1 million trees. Got into environmental education, tracked from there into energy policy, created a little group called Rocky Mountain Institute, ran that for about 20 years until they fired me. So created Natural Capitalism Solutions, and here we are. Along the way, created a couple of MBA programs in which sustainability was supposed to be baked into everything. They both eventually got cold feet and headed off into sustainability light. So I'm now
Mm-hmm.
working with a colleague, Walter Link, and
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Michael Pearson of Fordham
Mm-hmm.
to build a new business education program that we can do virtually and take it to scale. Teaching
Mm-hmm.
one by one by one is too slow. We're
Mm-hmm.
out of time. We
Mm-hmm.
really are up against it. Don't do this because it will put you in a very bad mood, but you can
Mm-hmm.
Google near term human extinction and
Mm-hmm.
find what purports to be science saying humans go extinct within the next 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
You can
Mm-hmm.
read climate science, Johan Rockstrom, Will Steffen, Tim Lenton, that we are looking at apocalyptic, civilization ending climate catastrophes in the very near future if we don't get our act together. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I spend my time trying to do is
Mm-hmm.
help companies, communities, countries implement these more regenerative practices in ways that are profitable. If I can show you that behaving responsibly to people and planet is just better business,
Mm-hmm.
start to bake it into your business model.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, and I think this is what when because I took your advice seriously and then I googled you, and the first thing that comes up is of course the natural capitalism idea, and I think, I mean, if you look into this, this is nowadays maybe a bit more common to have heard about, profitable, sustainable business and so on. But you came up with this already quite early. I mean, there was not so many, or it was not mainstream to think like this. That's becoming or having sustainable businesses will generate profits. How did did you have to like fight your way through until you got recognition for this, and then did you have a lot of resistance in these
Recognition
times?
and $2.50 will get you a cup of coffee. What
Mm-hmm.
matters is do you get uptake by the people who are in places of decision making power who can
Yeah.
make
Mm-hmm.
things different?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, not yet, not enough, not fast enough, or we'd have
Mm-hmm.
solved these problems. Whenever people tell me what a storied career I've had, I'd say if I were any damn good, we'd have solved these problems because we
Good.
know how, for example, to solve the climate crisis at a profit. Just take a look at the work of Dr. Mark Jacobson of Stanford. He has
Mm-hmm.
shown the world can be 100% renewably powered by 2035 with a 6 year payback.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
that's that's better money than you're going to make putting it in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
And we have all the technologies. We know what to do. So let's go.
Mm-hmm.
That's half the solution to the climate crisis. The other half is regenerative agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do a lot of work around the world, organizations like SECEM in Egypt,
Mm-hmm.
where they are using organic biodynamic farming to lift thousands of poor Egyptian farmers out of poverty using a carbon market play because the way in which they do agriculture is putting more carbon into the soil, vastly more.
Mm-hmm.
They're planting trees for shade, for windbreaks. They're helping the farmers shift from diesel generators to solar. Put all of that together, it's something like 15 tons of carbon per acre per year that they can sequester. So
Mm-hmm.
companies and indeed individuals, you can go to the SECEM website and offset your carbon. Companies are offsetting whatever carbon they can't eliminate by renewable energy and energy efficiency by using these kinds of carbon credits. Working with folk like Gabe Brown. Gabe was a North Dakota corn soybean commodity farmer who was going broke. He said, "Look,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going broke. I'll try anything." He went to
Mm-hmm.
no till. He stopped breaking the prairie soil. Every
Mm-hmm.
time you plow, you decarbonize, denitrify the soil, kill the mycorrhizal fungi, which mineralizes carbon in the soil. Then he planted cover crops, diversity of deep-rooted cover crops. Those take nutrients out of the air and put it into the soil.
Mm-hmm.
Then now his fields are covered in cover crops, so he turned his cows out to eat down the cover crops.
Mm-hmm.
The animal impact, the eating of the plants, which causes the roots to release sugars, which feeds the
Mm-hmm.
mycorrhizal fungi, the biological community in the soil, the trampling, the manure, all puts carbon into the soil. And
Mm-hmm.
Gabe went from a little under 2% soil organic matter to, in some of his paddocks, 15% soil organic matter. Every 1% increase in soil organic
Mm-hmm.
matter is 5 to 10 tons of carbon per acre and 20,000 gallons of water holding capacity. So, this is an
Mm-hmm.
approach that farmers, for example, in India, working with a man named Vijay Kumar, are using, so that rather than having to plant just before the monsoons and hope that the monsoons come and come on time, they can harvest year round because they have living root in the soil year round. They have diversity of crops. And because of the water in the soil from the carbon in the soil, they have tripled productivity, doubled profitability. So Vijay
Mm-hmm.
is working with millions of poor Indian farmers in, for example, Andhra Pradesh, lifting them from poverty, giving them higher nutrient density, giving them higher profitability. Oh, and putting carbon into the soil. So these approaches are more profitable and
Mm-hmm.
they solve a multiplicity of problems, everything from how do you feed people, how do you lift people out of poverty, how do you increase equity in a terribly inequitable world, to how do you
Mm-hmm.
solve the climate crisis at a profit.
Mm-hmm.
But let me ask you one question because I was working for many years in with bamboo and the entire bamboo value chain. We were developing amazing use cases, applications from using raw bamboo to making sophisticated composite materials that could replace glass fiber and were recyclable and everything. And the stories like you hear, and I'm still working in sustainable material innovations, and I see all these great use cases, but it's so difficult to to scale them and to convince oftentimes those guys who could actually scale them to convince them to do even the first step. How do you feel this, like how
Well, the
do you
same.
experience that? I mean, it's even like black and white. You can do the calculation. You say, as you just said, like you save carbon or forest foster carbon. You have a better business case. You have a more sustainable business. It's everything. You have side effects that are just positive, and still, the first step is just not being done.
The incumbent industries are very powerful
Mm-hmm.
and have organized the system for their benefit. Systems exist and go on existing because they're serving the interest of somebody. So the
Mm-hmm.
fossil industry gets, what do they reckon, $7.2 trillion in subsidies every year. That's $13 million a minute. Agriculture, industrial agriculture, is subsidized to the tune of $1 million a minute. And you think these guys are just going to say, "Oh, here, let's do it your way"? No. Which is to say, the business case, however powerful, isn't enough. And
Mm-hmm.
this is a recognition that I have been coming to a bit late
Mm-hmm.
and have been asked by a very senior UN official to help him create a global citizens movement to implement the solutions that we know exist and at the same time build the global political muscle to force policymakers to do the right thing. Why aren't they doing the right thing? Nobody's making them. How do you make them? The options are fairly limited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You, foment a revolution, or you build the political muscle that makes it essential that they change what they're doing. So, not being fond of revolution, we've opted for the latter and watch this space.
All right. All right. Well, I think I'll be on your side for sure. That's for sure. So, all right.
And one thing that because we've touched upon it many times because of our plastic in the plastic climate future theme is the uptake also of biopolymer
So many.
solutions. I
And
mean, there are
bamboo is
so
a
many,
great one. Hemp is another.
so many,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So many like also material alternatives that can replace current materials. How do you see like education also playing a role to not only push these new technologies and not only accept or scale these new technologies from the industry side, but also to change sometimes the mindset of those people who in the end
Several
use
answers.
them?
One, education is critical. That's why I'm a professor. I climb on an airplane tomorrow to fly to New York City to teach at Fordham University. I teach a
Mm-hmm.
class, Principles of Sustainable Management.
Mm-hmm.
Now Partners is just creating Now Academy, which will take this education to people in companies, to mid level executives, to senior executives, helping them with learning journeys to go to the companies that are implementing this stuff, see how it's done, see why it's more profitable, and be in a position to implement these solutions in their own operations. As I said, helped create 2 MBA programs, taught at a third. Oh, I guess now teach at another, and that's way too slow. That
Mm-hmm.
won't get the job done. I
Mm-hmm.
teach a class. I guess the biggest class that I taught was 95 at once.
Mm-hmm.
It's way too slow. We need to be getting this information to thousands of people all at once. The web
Mm-hmm.
has now made this possible. So
Mm-hmm.
look for Now Academy. We will be releasing these programs in the very near future. We're in the process of
Mm-hmm.
creating them now. I'm taking all of the material that I have taught in various university programs and chunking it into smaller, more bite sized modules.
Mm-hmm. So this is called Now Academy. So named after where the name Now Partners is connected.
The
Correct.
name Now Partners, and
Okay.
it is right now in formation. We were asked
Okay.
by a company in the Emirates
Mm-hmm.
to work with them to put this
Mhm.
together. And it's like, wow, well, all right, let's do it.
Okay. It's starting to fall in place now. I mean, you began
And
by saying earlier we're out of time, and I can buy into what you're saying there, and now I get why you have the now in the work that you're doing. So
that
it makes
that
sense.
time
It makes sense.
is now. Our
Mhm.
most urgent challenges and opportunities lie in this integration of economic development and business success with
Mhm.
the regeneration of people, societies, nature, and the climate. And
Mhm.
we have
Mhm.
the solutions, so let's implement them.
Mm. Mm.
And when you look at the website, you see there's a lot of partners or team. The team side is very, very large. Can you talk about like the type of people or members that you get? Like, is it large corporate or is it private people? Is it like just simply, I don't know, philanthropists or people like you who are driven by by the educational
Now
part?
Partners was created by Walter Link. Walter and I started working together, oh gosh,
Mhm.
25 years ago or so. We were put together by a fellow who said he was going to go raise 25 million, hire us to solve all the world's problems, build a institute to do that. Okay,
Mhm.
With 25 million
Back
only.
then, 25 million probably would have got it done. But as most such grand ideas, it never happened. But Walter and I met each other, and I was then asked by an old boy who said, did I think it would be a good idea to have a business school around sustainability? I said, yes. He said, okay, we're going to do it. Come do it. And so Walter and I built the curriculum. We taught there. I taught there for 10 years till they kind of drifted off into sustainability light, and then transferred over to Bainbridge Graduate Institute, which then got gobbled up, and then moved to yet another one, which now has drifted off. So Walter and I looked at each other, said, how do we do this in a way where we are not beholden to any particular institution, where we simply make this content widely available? Build our own. So literally this morning, we were on the phone with some of the managing partners of Now Partners, putting this piece together. So again, watch this space. It's coming.
All right, and this will be available to anyone in the world that's interested in learning about this, or how would it be rolled out?
The easiest way to roll it out is to have a corporate client that says, I want to train all my people. I was approached a couple of years back by one of the big four accountancy houses that said, we need to train our people in sustainability. And I said, okay, by sustainability, what do you mean? Is it biodiversity? Is it equity? Is it social inclusion? They said climate. I said, oh, okay. And set about laying out the science of what's happening with the climate crisis and the solutions. And they said, oh, no, you will offend our oil industry clients. I said, yeah, probably will, huh? So you can imagine where that one went. That said, and I said to them, why do you want this stuff? First of all, I said, do you want me to be honest? Yes. No, they didn't. But I said, why do you want this? They said, our clients are asking us for it. So here they are, the advisors to all of these big corporates, and their people have no idea what to say. So that kind of thinking, smart companies will want their people to know this. The more that they know, and the more that they know how to do to actually implement it, and then the more that they enable their people to become real leaders, so knowing, doing, being, the more profitable a company they're going to be. And so route one is a company says, yeah, we want you to deliver this material. And we're already in conversations with one such, with a number of more saying, hey, I want to play too. But the beauty of the web is you can make this universally available. And so that indeed is a goal, that as we put this together, you as an individual can simply sign up and be a part of this. Now, there are various different ways of doing this. My colleague, John Fullerton, John was 18 years at JP Morgan, left as managing director, created Capital Institute, wrote the fabulous seminal paper, Regenerative Capitalism, where he lays out the 8 principles of what does it mean to be regenerative. Everybody's throwing the word around now. John really sat down and laid out what does it take for a system to be regenerative. John has put together a course. In fact, it just started, the current cohort just started this week. And you can go to Capital Institute and sign up and take John's course, and they have scholarships available. Fabulous course. All of my students who have taken it come back raving about it. And John is one of these big brains that the chance to spend time with John is not to be missed. And he is doing this real time, live, with students. Again, that's not going to scale. So one of the now team came up and said, there are these AI bots. They will learn everything you know. And then when a student wants to talk to you, they don't have to actually talk to you, they talk to the bot. It's like, really? Do I want one? Yeah, probably. So then he brought it, well, he brought whatever, the program, and tried to demonstrate it. It didn't work. I went, yeah, okay.
I have some bugs to work out still.
Time. But if that could exist, I'd be thrilled to download everything I know, put it into the bot, and give it a go. Now, can it be used for nefarious purposes? Pff, undoubtedly. But and with all things, you do need quality control, and you do need the human attention to it. And I dearly love after class going out with my students, having a beer, and chewing over the affairs of the world. So, would it be the same? No. But can we get this information to scale? That would be great.
Yeah, it's part of the solving of the scaling question. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I think so.
And as you said, like education is so crucial. And because I'm also teaching, and I see there is the young generation, so to speak, who is much more aware of these topics, and they just are more active and more conscious because they already grow up with these topics.
I'll be safely dead.
Yeah, but when I was and when I was growing up, I just I was interested in it. That's why I ended up in the space of sustainability. But this was not part of the regular education. And what I see also, and I'm wondering if you also experience it when you talk to the big corporates, is that those people who are in the leading position oftentimes didn't have the chance to have this education. But once you tell them and once they grasp what it's all about, then sometimes it just makes a switch. And then it's, if you find the right people, they are really pushing towards, also using their position to drive some of these solutions. Do you also see this, and who are your students, or who are the MBA students that sign up for your courses usually?
Yes. When you can get inside the head of the people who make the rules, this is arguably the most powerful place to intervene in a system. And this is the wisdom of the great Donella Meadows, who was the lead author of the book Limits to Growth. We were having a conversation at my old outfit, and one of my board members was a big fan of the North American Free Trade Agreement, and Dana was saying, no, there's this problem, there's that problem. And he said, you can't stop it. This is a system. You can't intervene in a system. And Dana said, excuse me, but you can. Went to the whiteboard and outlined at the time 10 ways to intervene in a system. She's now written it up, or later wrote it up as 12 places to intervene in a system. And of course, the most powerful, if you can get at it, is paradigm, the mental models. And then the mental models of the people who set the rules. And then you can work to the other place, like the numbers. And afterwards, I said to Dana, is this a hierarchy? Everybody calls this the hierarchy of places to intervene in a system. Said, we've had great success sitting down with the chief financial officer of a utility that's trying to build, say, back then, a nuclear plant, and showing them that they are violating Miss Piggy's fourth law. They're trying to eat more than they can lift. And that if they go through with this, it'll crash their utility. And they go, oh. And very shortly, the plant gets canceled. They take all the credit for it. Fine. I don't need the credit. But it was the number that persuaded them they needed to come at this in a different approach. And the numbers of things like, as I said, Mark Jacobson's, we can power the entire world renewably by 2035 with a 6-year payback. That's a number. It's a powerful number. And Dana said, it's not a hierarchy. You grab whatever piece of the system you can get your hands on and try to make change with it. And this indeed is the wisdom of this approach we're trying with building a global citizens movement. But what can I do? I'm just one person, said 8 billion people. If everyone in their own community began to implement the climate solutions that were appropriate to their community, I'm not going to tell them what to do. I don't know their community, but I will be here to help them. We have access to known solutions. What's worked? Provide them with the phone number, address of the person who did it so they can call up and ask them. Build a global citizens movement of people talking to each other the world around about what they're doing, and then showcasing what the little people are doing that makes a difference. There's a great quote from J.R.R. Tolkien where Gandalf said, "Some believe it is only great power that can hold evil in check, but that is not what I have found. I found it is the small everyday deeds of ordinary folk that keep the darkness at bay, small acts of kindness and love." So what if we showcase the world around these small acts? And I tried this out. Shortly after I was asked to become a part of this effort, a housewife came to me, lives locally, said, "Did I know that the big cement plant up the way was the #1 polluter in Boulder County, 470,000 tons of CO2 a year?" No. Did I know that their permit to mine was up for renewal? No. Would I help her? Yes, because this is a test. Can the little people do it? I wasn't going to do it, but could I, by telling her I'm here to help, empower her to build the local citizens movement, which then got the planning commission to deny the permit, got the county commissioners to deny the permit, recently turned out dozens of people to testify at an air quality hearing. It's going to get that damn plant shut down. I didn't do that, she did. But she wouldn't have done it if she felt alone. Did some research on, I wrote a theory of change. And it turns out that well north of 3/4 of people in the 17 countries surveyed, basically the OECD countries, know that the climate is a crisis and believe it will hurt them personally. Way south of 50% think anybody else feels the same way, which is to say we all feel alone. I knew my housewife felt alone. And when you feel like somebody's there with you, you're willing to take it on. She did, and as I said, we're going to get that damn plant canceled. What if we did this globally? If people everywhere were part of a global brand of climate solution.
Yeah. So how do you want to start it or kick it off, or maybe you kicked it off in practical ways? So you try to showcase little examples, or you try to connect communities? How do you think
the original idea was have a massive launch, Live Aid for Africa for the climate, main stages in every major city, the world around, show that all of us who care about the climate are not alone, with celebrities on stage at the same time celebrating my housewife. And that takes money. So for the last little while, I've been endeavoring to raise, we've variously been told it would take 2 million, 5 million, 30 million. We were written into a very big proposal. And the philanthropist sold stock to fund it and then bought a boat. So I don't know what it's going to take to launch it. But this is the rest of my life. I am going to make this happen.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have any answers, that's for sure. But I think one thing is for sure: don't give up. I mean, just don't go down without a fight. Don't give up, and this will be the rest of your life. And those that are listening tonight and that are listening beyond tonight, listen. This is something that where the fight continues, and if the baton needs to be handed over to someone else, then so be it over time. But just don't give up, because that's just what we have to do. We have to keep on. So, sorry, I'm normally not talking like this, but you've got me inspired. You've got me
No,
inspired.
I've pledged to ride for the ambassador. That's not revocable.
All righty. Good deal. Good deal.
And I think, yeah, that's also important, because of course we started off with, you can Google some of these keywords and then get depressed when you read about the time that is left. But I think, and we try to also showcase it with our guests and with especially those who innovate for a better future, who are not doing it for the money. Most of our guests have a passion for what they are doing, and we see that they are bringing also a very optimistic motivation, at least. So looking at like something, what is your motivation? What is your optimistic motivation as a driver to continue, like, because you do it with a lot of energy. You just jump here on the plane tomorrow to go to New York to teach. We met in Germany. You have a busy schedule, so there is probably also a very positive drive behind it that drives you to
tell you the truth,
power.
About 2 years ago, I was going to hang up my spurs. I had sat on the board of a little battery company which had exited happily, and this astonishing amount of money landed in my bank account. It's like, wow, I learned something. I've always sat on nonprofit boards. Sit on for-profit boards. They have stock options. And my husband's been after me to retire. And I've been thinking, you add up everything that I have done, 17 odd books, teaching, consulting, lecturing, going down the road. Is it enough? No, we're losing. We're losing rather badly at the moment. That's the grim climate science. Do I know what enough is? No. Then why go down the road? Why burn carbon? Stay home, ride my horse, watch an eagle fly. I live on a very beautiful ranch. And my colleague Walter called up, said, would I come help him run a set of workshops, the Global B Corp Global Leaders Summit in Rome, a workshop in Assisi? Yes. But I thought as I was driving out of the ranch, this will be my last trip. And Walter had said at these events would be a guy that I had actually fought for a couple of years. He had run a UN program that was actually, well, he's the chief deputy of a UN program that was run by a gal who was kind of counterfeit. All the good NGOs walked, said, we're out. And I'd been voluntold I was going to be a part of it. I said, why? And was told, shut up, do it. It's like, okay, if I got to do this, I'm going to have some fun. I'm going to take it and the guy running it down. So for 2 years, I gave this poor man heartburn. And in due course, this got boring, so I quit. And this is during COVID. I'm not going anywhere. I'm sitting at home, being on Zoom at 4 in the morning because nobody cares about the Colorado time zone. These are international meetings held for the benefit of people in Asia. So I quit, and he promoted me. It's like, Mom, why'd he do that? He could have been rid of me. So I quit again, and he promoted me again. So I'm running working groups, writing research papers, and supposed to be a big summit. The UN pled COVID. It was all online, set piece UN speeches. UN then pulled the plug, killed the whole thing. And I thought, yay, I win. It was what I set out to do in the first place. Didn't think more of it. So when Walter said this guy was going to be at these meetings, I thought, now this will be fun. I'd halfways enjoy to meet the man. I fought for 2 years. And he got up, gave a speech I could have given. Thought, whoa. So I walked up, stuck out my paw, said, howdy, my name's Hunter Lovins. He laughed. He said, I know who you are. I said, yeah, probably so, huh? After 2 years of my insurgency. I said, I may have been wrong about you. And we sat down and talked, and he pitched me on this idea. And my first thought was, that's big. That would be enough. And then I thought, it's too big. I have no earthly idea how to do it, nor do I know anybody who could. You take all the usual suspects, they would make it all about them. And this cannot be about any one of us. It has to be about the little people. So I kind of shrugged. Through a series of interesting intervenings, he and I wound up spending quite a bit of time together. And on a bus somewhere in the middle of Italy, I thought he could do it. It isn't about him. And he said, will you join me? And I said, let's see, I work about 6 jobs. I promised Rob I'd retire. And I looked at him and said, I will ride for your brand. I said, you have no earthly idea what I just said, but you'll figure it out. So I was going to quit till I heard an idea that was bigger than anything I'd ever thought of. And I still have no earthly idea how to do it, but I am committed to figure it out. I am now a growing number of people. Again, this isn't about me. I am literally just a servant to this idea. And we collectively will figure it out. So we had a meeting yesterday with a bunch of young people who are good at web-based stuff. And one of them said, I shouldn't say anything. I'm not really a part of this. I said, please, we need the ideas of everyone who's here. If I were any damn good, we'd have solved these problems. If I knew how to do this, I'd be doing it. It's all of us working together that might have a chance of getting this done.
Yeah, great, and I think that's also one of the reasons why we're happy to have you here, because it kind of also aligns with our pillars on finding viable solutions, and then also getting inspired by examples that people do all over the world, that, as we've discovered over the last 2 years of doing our podcast, which also started as an idea and then brought us to the point that we can have now, people from a high caliber and learning also from all of us together from each other. One thing that I wanted to ask, because this intrigued me during the conversation today, was you said sustainability light. So what do you mean by sustainability light, and what is then the counterpart?
Sustainability light is what you will see in the corporate sustainability reports of now essentially every major company on earth. Oh, we are committed to being green. We're committed to sustainability. We care. Until you actually ask, what are you doing? Have you set a science-based target for reducing your carbon footprint? What is your biodiversity impact? To what extent are you dependent on plastics, on petroleum-based parts of your supply chain. What is your supply chain? Do you even know what it is? What's the impact of what you're doing? What are your material issues? And if you get these blank stares, that's sustainability light. So it's very easy to read a lot of books and say, oh, I'm studying sustainability, but not to grapple with the really tough issues of am I, as the CEO, paid 300 times what the average worker is paid? And is that sustainable? Well, of course, I'm so valuable. Of course, I deserve to be paid that much. There's a great GIF. Let's see if I can find it. Controversial thesis. If the highest paid person in your university or college is the basketball coach or the football coach, then it is not a university. It's a sporting franchise with a side hustle and tertiary education.
So is it? You know that in the United States, you know, in the U.S., in many countries or in many states in the United States, certainly in the South, the highest paid government employee is usually the football coach of the state university.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's a fact.
And there are so many pieces of the way that we live our lives that are unsustainable. Are you willing to take a hard look at yourself and ask, what am I doing? What's my dot? Every day, do one thing. What have I done today to make things just a little bit better? And again, the thesis of our new approach is it doesn't have to be big. It's what one thing are you doing today to make it better? And then are you sharing that? Are you talking with Rabbit's friends and relations about what you did and why? And asking them to get engaged as well. This is the way that we build the shared political will to do things differently.
Can I ask a question on this shared political will and getting the momentum of folks in society? This question has come up a few times over the past several months, and that is, the world that we live in today, here in Europe, in the U.S., around the world. We can look to everything that's going on in the world and all the crises, all the strife, all the war, all the political intrigue, all these things that are taking place. And do you think that it's at a time like this that it's more difficult to focus the powers that be, the industry, those who are decision makers, those that are in politics, the bureaucrats, and just the person on the street, to focus on the issue of saving the earth, improving our situation in terms of the climate, in terms of a regenerative economy and society. Do you think it's that if we look where we are today versus some years ago when it was maybe perceived as being a little bit less of a state of constant crisis, that it's become more difficult, or is it just always the same challenge that we face?
Everyone thinks they live in the time of the world's greatest crisis.
Yeah.
And yet, the years when I was growing up were an unusually stable time. For at least for people like me. Now, there are a lot of people around the world for whom it is always a crisis. And many of us are now feeling that we've been thrown into this incredible turmoil. It's called the poly crisis. It's COVID, it's conflict, it's climate, it's loss of biodiversity, it's the staggering inequality. There is a growing belief now that we're on the verge of total system societal collapse. And people are starting to say, what do I do to protect myself sorry, you can't.
Mm-hmm.
We keep the system together, or none of us make it. None of us are going to make it as a rugged individualist.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in some way, the fact that we are up against it means it's easier.
Mm-hmm.
Taking the easy way out, just living a life of luxury, is not going to be an option for many people going forward, for whom it had been an option.
Mm-hmm.
As we see these climate crises proliferate, as we see the social breakdown from inequality, my friend Paul Pullman, Paul was CEO at Unilever for a decade or so and led Unilever to outstanding stock performance.
Mm-hmm.
He said it boils down to leadership, what I call courageous leadership. Courage comes from the French word coeur, which is heart. That's what
Mm-hmm.
leaders need to succeed in today's environment.
Mm-hmm.
Successful leaders have a high level of awareness what is going on. They operate with empathy, compassion, and show humanity, humility. They don't shy away from doing what is truly needed. Courageous leaders take responsibility for their total impact. They set targets that are needed to win, not to avoid losing. They embrace partnerships with others, are purpose driven, and think intergenerationally.
Mm-hmm.
Paul, when he first came on at Unilever, said, "We're not going to report quarterly." Stock fell 10%. He said, "Those of you who have sold, I respect you as human beings. But if you think I can create value for you in this company on a 90-day rotation, I don't want you as my owners."
Mm-hmm.
That's courage. And I've asked Paul, what on earth motivated you to do that? He said, "They just hired me. I didn't think they'd fire me." So sometimes when you are in you
That was
have
great.
a moment where you can take that shot. Courage is stepping up and taking it
Taking a shot, you know.
when you know you have that moment.
Mm-hmm. Wow, this is inspiring, I must say. Yeah,
Yeah,
another thing that over the past couple of years, Matt and I doing this podcast, and indeed it's Plastic Climate Future, and we've gone really, exceeded the scope of plastic today. But that's kind of the world where we come from, and what inspired me to be involved with this was, I woke up one day and discovered I was a chemical engineer working for a chemical company making polymers. Kind of that's how it worked for me. Kind of stumbled into this, and kind of accidentally became an expert in this area. And over the years have grappled with okay, is all this technology, all this education, all this investment, does it boil down to just that, making a better plastic trash bag that floats on the side of the road, or can we do something more with this? And this is kind of what led to part of Plastic Climate Future being born. And we are also looking at um, coming people like myself and like Matt, having regular engagements with those that are in this industry of ours, and thinking about those that are on the other side of the fence, let's say, of these big production plants, and realizing that we have a lot more in common than we think. And I used to go around saying to people like, my job is developing plastics and so on. That's kind of what I kind of stumbled into. That's what I'm doing. But at the same time, I know that myself, and I know that a lot of people that I've worked with over the years, they just live on this planet too. They play guitar, and once they've grown up, they'll go drink whiskey in Breckenridge as well, and they don't want to do anything that's destroying this earth either. And one of the things that's inspired me is over the years, Hunter, is it may be that we're out of time. I get that, and at the same time, that something that does nonetheless inspire me today. I'm a little bit older in my years. I'm a little bit older than Matt, so I'm getting on up there myself, and I'm just gratified the young people that we encounter that are in this world of plastics that we're in today, and how for them they regard questions of sustainability as part of the price of admission for doing business. And what you talk about sustainability light, which is maybe another way of talking about just another form of greenwashing by industry. Exactly. I mean, this is what we're not about here at Plastic Climate Future. And these younger people that we deal with that come on the podcast that we work with in this industry, it's almost like, this is water for them. This is just their life. Is like, you cannot move forward without considering the impact of our decisions on the planet. And okay, I may be being a little bit too optimistic here, but and it might be too late. But I look at the younger folks, those that we come into contact with, the students that you encounter, and I'm hopeful that okay, we have not done enough, but the world is shifting in a good direction to maybe end on a positive note. I'm sorry for babbling here, but I've been sitting back on it. I have to talk.
I was once talking with Dana Meadows. I did a lot of work in energy efficiency, and I said, Dana, if we do all this efficiency, but people keep creating more people, and those people keep buying more stuff, doesn't that just dwarf the efficiency? Is efficiency worth anything? She said, yes. Exactly. It buys time. And that is the resource that we are the shortest of. I said, is there enough time? And she said, yes, just enough, starting now. I've remembered that ever since. Save the earth. As George Carlin says, the earth will be fine. It'll shake us off like a bad case of fleas. We're talking about save the humans. We're talking about save life as we know it on this planet. The planet will be fine. And then greenwashing. Hypocrisy is the first step to real change. I don't mind when a company greenwashes because it gives me the opportunity to have this conversation with them. So at one point, we were working with a very large restaurant chain, hardly known for their sustainability. Their head of operations called us up and said, would we come and consult with them? And I said, yes, although what we will do is teach you how to do it yourself so that we can go and work with other people. We don't want to burrow in and become a parasite. Sat down with the CEO, and he said, is there a return? I said, do you mean ever? And he said, yes. I said, yes. And we showed them that the efficiency and renewables measures that we could put in place would save them more money than they would make by opening a new restaurant in their chain. And they hired a head of sustainability and have been very serious about it ever since. These are the sorts of opportunities that are everywhere in our society because we are so inefficient and because we are only now beginning to get serious about implementing these solutions that we have. So in a way, the fact that the time is very short is actually on our side. Let's get riding.